Howdy folks, what's up? It's your boy. We got another funky fresh video for y'all today. As you might have guessed, the scenery is a little bit different. This is not a green screen, this is actual greenery behind me right now. And these are actually bugs that are flying around my face. And I don't think that they're gonna go away for the rest of this video. I hope my moving around doesn't get on the mic. If it does, you get a special treat. I'll move this hand maybe. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, and also, by the way, you will notice that I have a mullet today. That is brand new. I got it this morning, and it looks pretty freaking awesome. I got these shades, too. Oh, look at that, bro. Look at that. This is a pretty expert masculinity right here. This is pretty freaking sick. We got it. This video is going to be a little bit more like unscripted. Obviously, there's somewhat of a script right here. Spoilers, whoa. But it's sort of similar to the vibes from, I did the video about like the Hawaiian shirts and you know how fashion is passing for trans stuff. And I also did the shaving video. And this video, as you probably guessed from the title, is mostly just general tips, all sorts of stuff, kind of things that I wish that I knew as a trans man growing up. First of all, happy Pride Month. That's, we got the merch over here, Radicals merch, shout out. Woo! Best ultimate frisbee team in all of Madison, Wisconsin. We sort of got it filming outside here like we're on a camp out. We're on a man-to-man camp out. We got the cool vibes going. So that's pretty much it. I'll jump right into it. First of all, a quick disclaimer, like the tips and stuff that I'm going to be giving, they're mostly for like passing and going stealth. So, you know, you might be trans Masc, but maybe you don't want to go stealth, or maybe this just isn't your style. That's totally chill. This is all like my idea of masculinity and my style. You feel free to take some of these tips, or all of these tips, or none of these tips. It's all freaking good. I'm just throwing it all out there. Number one tip that I have right here is consider getting like your family involved in choosing your new name, or at least like a middle name. I remember my particular story. Sturgeon, obviously, that is my first name, and it is also the coolest name in the world. That has been a nickname of mine for years, actually years before I came out or any of that, and it just always felt more like my name than my birth name. So that was a pretty easy first name, but then obviously a lot of people have more than just one name. So last name, I didn't change that. I love my family, they're cool. But then there was a question of the middle name. I hadn't really thought about this much. And a lot of times it's hard for folks' family with the name change, and even just calling your old name your dead name. I remember my parents really didn't like that because they named me after like some of their favorite deceased relatives. So it really hurt for them when I said that I was going to change my name, because it felt, you know, like that relative that they loved a lot was dying again almost. I don't want to do that to them. So we talked together about getting a middle name, and I think it's really good to involve them in that, because, you know, it makes them feel connected, and it feels like they're not losing a part of something that they love. And also because I have a super cool middle name too. I don't know that I want to say my middle name on the internet, because I don't want people to find me, because that is my legal name right now. But I can tell you it is a very cool middle name. It is a middle name of, I think, my great-great-grandpa. Yeah, and he was really cool. I heard about this from my mom. She said that he was really cool, and he's like super fun, optimistic vibes, sort of like me. So it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I involved you in this process. Now I have this swag name and a swag story with it. So that's nice. Sorry I'm scratching my legs, by the way. The bugs everywhere. You can probably see them. Second tip on here is have a middle name. I remember it was actually like a year before I got my middle name. Like right away came out of the closet, and I was like, I want to have this Sturgeon as my name. But then I never really thought about a middle name until like a year, and I was like, oh snap, I should have that, because like, you know, you're gonna have legal documents where it's like, all right, what am I gonna put on here? And people just ask, like, more often than you think, like, what's your middle name? And there were times when I was like, oh, I don't have one, because I couldn't think of a new one. Or sometimes I admitted like, oh, it's a female name, and then I had to make this weird story. It was like, yeah, my parents decided to mess with the gender, like I was a guy. Don't do that. Maybe you could, I don't know, but just have a middle name. Try to decide that, and I recommend getting family involved in that, because that worked out well, at least for me. With a name, I know a lot of trans guys like to go with the names Sam, Elliot, or Kai. shout out to all like 200 billion of you who use those freaking names. But if you want to get more creative, if you want to name yourself after a fish like your boy did, have a weird little story with it, because most people with names have that. Because, you know, a lot of people, they never change their names throughout their entire life. So you meet people that were like, yeah, I've been named Kyle for 18 years. That's crazy. Act like you've had your name for your entire life. If they're like, whoa, why do you name that? I say, like, it's a cool fish and I'm a cool guy. And they're like, this guy knows what's up. And I'm like, that's right, he freaking does. And also, this one sounds like kind of intuitive, but it wasn't for me. Know how to spell your name, and also, like, you know, the way that you say the spelling of your name, make sure it's like super effortless, like you're not really thinking about it, and it's like kind of got like a rhythm to it. Like, remember, like, this is a name that you've had for your entire life. Just pretend, become an actor. Like, you know, the effortless rhythm that people say things. Like, you shouldn't have to think about the spelling of your name, especially your first name. People think it's weird when you do that, and that's happened to me. But yeah, think Stuargeon. Bam, done. Got that little rhythm to it, you're good. That's what you want. Also, practice writing your signature. That's fun. I did this during COVID for like 2 hours. I just had like a piece of paper and I was just like, no, I don't like the way how that looks. I'm gonna change it like this. So, like, have a signature, because most people have had like 18 years to write a signature, so they can do it without really thinking. This is a new name that you've had, honestly, for some of you guys, maybe only for like a week or something. And a really fun thing to do is make it official and make yourself a signature. And I wrote on here, make it as cool and unique as you are. Wow, that's so nice. With that, change legal documents. You know, you can change your name, you can change your gender. Unfortunately, a lot of this depends on where you live. Like, some places they won't let you change this, or some places you need like a reason to change it, which is weird. Like, your name, bro, you should just be able to do whatever you want. But okay, if it's possible for you to do so, pretty much do it right away, as soon as you're confident with your name, because it's gonna kind of suck to like go back and redo the paperwork if you're like, actually I want to change it again. And that's cool, no problem. Take your time. You don't ever have to change it, it's all good. But if you think that that's something that you want to do it sooner rather than later. As soon as you know, like, all right, this is the name that I want. Because I remember I had been confident with this name probably for about 2 years, and I just didn't do anything with it. And legally, when I was getting my driver's license, it was still my dead name. I'm like, okay, I should finally get around to it. Like, don't procrastinate that stuff. If it's available for you to change it, change it. It's going to be cool. Similarly to that, schedule medical transition steps as soon as you are ready. Like, if you know that that's something that you're going to want to do, start looking into it right away. Don't, maybe you can look into it if you're not 100% sure, but like, I was a billion% sure, and I just procrastinated it a lot, you know, because I was in high school. I was doing a lot of other stuff. I think it's important to prioritize feeling good about yourself, like physically, because that has a huge influence on like how you're feeling mentally, and that's going to influence how you do everything else in your life. So really, why wait on that kind of stuff? Because there's going to be a big wait to begin with. Like, I had a 6-month wait between the time when I was able to schedule my top surgery and the time when I will have my top surgery. Still hasn't even friggin' happened yet. And even that scheduling process before that 6 months happened, it was probably about 2 months, and then it was another like 3 months or so before I could even like get the paperwork needed to like do that. So start that as soon as you can, pretty much, once you know that it's going to be something. And that was considered a relatively short wait. So this stuff, it can take years. I'm going to be honest. It sucks to hear that. I mean, it's great to have it on your calendar, but it sucks so much to know that, like, oh, there's going to be so many days I'm going to have to cross off before I get to this. And in each day, there's going to be so many dysphoric experiences. Like, that's just how it's going to be. And it's going to suck. But when you think of it, like, honestly, I'm still a young guy. I would love to live a good long while. And yeah, that's a lot of days that I gotta cross off to get to it. But that's gonna be so many more days, so many more flipping calendars, so many freaking new calendars over here once we get that top surgery. And that's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be great. So do that as soon as possible. And I imagine it will be nice when it happens. I don't have it yet. I'm on T, and that also took a long time to schedule. So yeah, also do that. Basically, don't procrastinate. That's a good life lesson for everyone here. Oh yeah, speaking of T, know that you're getting like the full puberty experience. Like, it will take a long time for most of the coolest effects to happen, like, you know, facial hair. Like, I'm just starting to get a little bit of that, but that's pretty much the same amount of facial hair that, like, a 6th grade guy would get. Like, there isn't really facial hair. There's like some little stubs that then is very exciting because those stubs were not there before, and it's really cool that they're there now, but also it's not like a full-on mustache. And I have like other folks in my grade and stuff who have full-on mustaches, and it's like, yeah, that kind of sucks, but remember, you're signing up for the whole experience. It's gonna take years to happen. Most of it's gonna just be acne. Most of it's just gonna be like bad smelling sweat. It's not like top surgery where you can just like, pow, all of a sudden you're super buff and you can grow a beard now. It's gonna take a while, and it sounds different saying it out loud versus like actually living it. Like, when I think back, because I've been on T for about like 9.5 months now, and when I think back, it's like, wow, that really was a long time. I was like kind of a different person like back when I started T. Like, all this stuff didn't happen. So like, for a reference, think about where you were like about 9.5 months ago and be like, okay, that's legit. That's a while. But it's cool because that is the full experience. Oh yeah, it really helps to have folks that you can talk about all these things with. Friends, or like a therapist, or just other trans people that you know, or family maybe. A lot of trans folks are less comfortable talking about this stuff kind of directly with their family, and I get that. But yeah, it's great to have someone. I look at other folks' YouTube videos. I follow a lot of amazing trans folks on Instagram, and it's great to see that. But it also feels really nice like to have your stuff be listened to by someone else, which is cool. Oh yeah, know that it is totally okay to change your identity, expression, and style as many times as you want. Again, you're getting the full experience, and most men take a super long time to get their vibe sorted out too. I originally came out of the closet 3 years ago as a trans man, and then weird stuff happened, and a lot of folks were like, we never really saw you as a man. And I was like, okay, I want to be something at least other than a girl. So I was like, fine, I'll be non-binary. Is that okay with you guys? First of all, red flag. Don't let other people decide your identity for you. Staying in the closet for as long as I did, and then still not being true to my identity, I think those are the 2 biggest mistakes I've made in my entire life. So don't do that. It's good to do research, and it's great to experiment, and it's great to like try all that cool stuff, but it's good for you to try that stuff. Like, make that decision yourself. It's your body, it's your vibe, and you can still change it as much as you want. And I felt a little bad. I remember when I was realizing, like, after about a year of being non-binary, I was like, this is just isn't for me. I was right at the start. I want to be a trans man. But I was thinking like, oh gosh dang, is it too late? Can I like come out again, sort of, and tell everyone again that nope, I'm gonna switch it back over here? Yes, you absolutely can. You can do that as many times as you want, because it's your freaking vibe and you control that, bro. It's all good. This is a really cool one that I did not know, and I think you sort of have to live it to really experience it. But dude, guys are like 99.9% super chill and surprisingly easy to become bros with. Like, I had no idea how easy this was. Like, as soon as you start passing, you're bro. That's it. Like, it's freaking so chill. It's awesome. Like, they don't really suspect stuff or think too deeply about like people's identities. They just accept what they're told. So like, just tell them you're a dude and like it's all set. Act like you're cis. Act like you've been the way that you are for your entire life, and of course they believe you because they're freaking cool. It's awesome. I love being bros. It's so much fun. Also, sometimes it helps to act like, I don't know, less flamboyant, or sometimes less like expressive or emotional. Something, I don't know, something in the vibe. Some cis guys, they just don't express themselves to the extent that I think we're taught to as women growing up. Because, like, you know, I grew up as a girl. I'm taught completely different, like, social stuff than guys do. So you sort of got to pick that up as you go along. And it's pretty doable as long as you just, like, observe it. And you're like, oh, in this vibe, these guys, like, they didn't hug, they just fist bumped. Okay, I'll make a note of that. Or, like, oh, this guy, like, guys aren't laughing at this, they just sort of smile and shrug or something. Like, okay, I can do that. But also remember, you don't have to do any of that because you're just as much of a guy as any of those other cis guys. So you friggin' own it, friggin' do whatever you want. It might help to pass, but it's all up to you. Own the vibe. Oh yeah, I don't think it worked, but maybe it did. I'm honestly not sure. But I remember before I started T, and I was really into passing, but I had a lot of voice dysphoria because I used to have a higher voice. It was never super high, but it was like higher. So I would kind of do the opposite of that, and I would act more flamboyant because I am gay. And so, there's the stereotype that gay guys have a higher voice. So I would be like, oh yeah, I'm a guy, I'm just gay. So I would like, I'd do the hand thing. I went like all in on that. Maybe it helped me pass. I'm honestly not sure, but I don't do it anymore because obviously I have a lower voice now. I don't feel like I need to, and also it never really felt like me. Like, shout out, it's all cool for gay guys who do that. You guys are awesome, freaking rocking it. But that's just not my style. I'm not like super flamboyant and like whatever. I don't know. What am I doing? That seems homophobic, but I'm gay and trans, so it's cool, and it's Pride Month, and I'm wearing the Pride merch, so we're good. This is a good one to know. Don't talk in the men's restroom. The etiquette is very different from a women's restroom. Even if it's like you're only in there with like a close friend, or like if you've been talking outside and you enter the restroom, like don't really talk. The conversation ends pretty much when you go in there. Like, if spoken to, you can respond, and like don't make it weird. Like, someone's like, oh, you were having a conversation, and then you go in, and if they keep talking, then I guess you can keep talking, but like don't be the one who's pushing the conversation in the men's restroom. That's weird. Make it chill. Like, women's restroom, it's sort of like a social place generally. Men's restroom, much more of a private place. And honestly, I like that men's restroom vibe better. I think I always felt weird talking to people in the women's restroom, and I think that's because I'm a guy, so that makes sense. We're getting into more of a gray zone, so really gotta take this with a grain of salt and think very critically about it. But in general, to some extent, be a bit more aggressive when around other guys, and don't apologize profusely. And it's okay to make criticisms and be a little bit more direct. Do not go in with like toxic masculinity. Obviously I was grown up as like a woman. I was like, whoa, I would never do that. That sounds ridiculous. But there's a lot of like all male spaces that honestly you probably will eventually go into if you're not already there yet, and they're going to assume that you're one of them, and they're going to assume that like you're down with the toxic masculinity stuff, and it's going to be tough because it feels like if you're not, then you're like unmasculine and you're not like with them and you're not a man. And there's a lot of men who are against toxic masculinity, and they're very cool, and I think it's important to remember that you should be one of those guys. Connecting back to the, aggressive. I don't know if aggressive is really the right word for it, because don't be aggressive. Be chill. Come on. That's my vibe over here. Come on. We're chilling. I don't think it's being aggressive. I think it's just being less passive. I think that's a better way to put it, because, if you're grown up thinking that you're a woman, just the way that society treats women is very different from the way society treats men, and it really treats them to be much more passive. This one is a really hard one to word out because there's so much gray area, because the idea of what's manly is like totally out the window. Whatever you want is manly, dude. Heck yeah, dresses are manly. Freaking pop off. Makeup's manly. Do it. Awesome. Think of clever ways you can smoothly mention your gender identity without making it weird. Think of ways that a cis guy would bring it up. They probably wouldn't think to bring it up, but like just like casual ways. If you have to go to the bathroom, ask like, oh, do you guys know where the men's room is? Like, don't just say bathroom or don't just say restroom, say men's room, because why would a woman need to know where the men's room is? That's pretty easy. Refer to yourself as like a short king, like make short king jokes. If you're short, like me, like a freaking king, bro. Or you can make jokes. I like to say other folks take the elevators. I usually take the stairs. I sometimes will say like, I'm taking the stairs like a real man, in like a jokey tone. Like, don't actually have like toxic masculine vibes with that. Don't make fun of people for not taking the stairs, because that's insane. I feel like that's implied. If you're watching these videos, you're probably chill. Yeah, just think of funny, smooth little ways where you can like just pepper it in. So just in case people are like a little bit hesitant, like, I'm pretty sure he's a guy, but I don't know, like if you're on that borderline of passing, that's gonna like knock you on the side that you want right away. You're good. It also helps a lot to say dude, bro, bruh, pretty much all the time, but not too much. Like, don't make it weird. Just however much you see like other folks doing it. That is easy. That is nice. Be very conscious and aware of how you move and how you can use your clothing to hide your figure. This unfortunately makes sports very hard. I personally do not like working out around other people, and that's kind of the reason why I don't do sports. Sorry, I'm scratching my leg again there. This lighting's kind of nice though. I kind of like it. Makes my mullet look cool. Anything makes a mullet look cool, let me tell you that. Most trans guys, we experienced this for you. We're already very conscious of how our body moves and like how our figure is visible or not visible. So I feel like I don't really need to say this because you probably already know it, but just in case you don't, it helps to be aware of that and think about motions that you can do. Like right now I'm sitting down, I'm leaning forward a little bit. I can lean back, but when I lean back I like to tuck my shirt in. I hope that's not getting on the mic, like the shuffling of that stuff, so that you can't really see chest very much there. But leaning forward helps with that more, I think, and it seems more like aggressive, like, you know, you're like, oh, I'm leaning forward, I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's a bad example. I think it's also probably not great for your posture long term. I'm really looking forward to top surgery in that regard, because then I won't have to worry about that. Then I can sit however I please, because I will have a very different body. But right now, just be aware of that. And check out my last video on how to use fashion to help with your passing, because that is going to help that tremendously. When you get misgendered, play it off like really cool. Like, don't show anger, really show confusion or like laugh, and avoid saying pronouns and just say like, I'm a guy. Cis man wouldn't use the same kind of terminology, they wouldn't use the same kind of tone if they're misgendered than it would a trans guy, because cis guys get misgendered too, because gender is a weird social construct and not everyone perfectly fits into these little boxes all the time. For a cis man, usually when that happens, when they get put in the wrong box, usually it's just confusing or funny. So you want to act like that's the case. If someone is like, oh, hey, this young lady over here, don't be like, oh, actually, I'm a trans man and I use he, him pronouns. Don't say that, because then you just outed yourself as trans as well. And if you want to pass, you want to seem like you're a cis guy who just got accidentally mistaken as a woman. So make a joke like, oh, haha, I know my hair is long, but it's not that long. Or like, oh, I thought when I went to the barber I asked for a man's mullet. I don't know, that's stupid. I'm thinking of that right now. But yeah, make it silly, make it goofy, they'll laugh it off, they won't even remember, and you'll look super cool. This one's nice. If possible, have like close family members tell other extended family members that you're trans. It's nice because that way you don't have to do it, and that avoids weird conversations. Obviously, this doesn't apply if your immediate family is not supportive. If that's the case, I'm very sorry. That really sucks. There's not a whole lot that you can do in that regard. They might become more supportive in time. They might not. You're probably kind of stuck with it to a large extent because they're adults and they've had their opinions set for a long time. I'm not going to get super into that right now, but if your immediate family is supportive and your extended family is or isn't, have your immediate family tell your extended family about your identity for you, because then you don't have to do it, and it's nice. You also may need to avoid some family members altogether, which kind of sucks. Like, you know, family gatherings, you might want to avoid conservative, transphobic people. Like, I remember I was kind of waiting for my kind of conservative, very religious, transphobic, homophobic, very nice, but, you know, very conservative grandpa. I was waiting for him to pass away before I came out, which I did, and I think it delayed my coming out by a good bit, probably, but I think it was also alright because it didn't put any weird strain on, like, our relationship, like, before he passed, because, like, I'm really glad that I got to have a good relationship with him, because he was a really cool guy. He was wrong about some things, and that's okay, nobody's perfect, but, yeah, just avoid controversy if you can, and it sucks, because I don't want to be a controversy, I just want to be a guy, but it is what it is, and it's safer, and a lot of times it's better if you just avoid some of that. Last thing on here is, honestly, not everything will be perfect. Just like cis guys going through puberty, you can't really predict exactly everything that'll happen with T and just with everything else, and it won't go in like a perfect straight linear line of improvement. Every day it will not get progressively better. It will get better some days, and it'll get worse some days, and it'll be in between some days, and some days you won't really know how to classify it, and that's going to keep going out for the entire process. But I honestly think, like, you know, it zigs and zags a whole lot in the short term, and sometimes it'll zig and zag in the long term too. That's okay, we're human, that's what happens. But I think, honestly, if you zoom out like a lot, like if you look at, like, this is where I was 3 years ago, this is where I was 4 years ago, this is where I was 5 years ago, this is where I am now, honestly, there is a pretty steady improvement. Like, it's not actually linear because there's a whole lot of going on in there, but overall, that is the vibe, and I can pretty much promise you that is going to happen eventually. And if it hasn't happened yet, give it more time. Check out some of my last videos. Try some of these tips if you haven't done so already, and I'm sure you're going to have some upward motion eventually. That's pretty nice. Dang, this lighting is sweet. Alrighty, that'll do it.